Just look around you for a second. Your phone, that coffee you're drinking, the chair you're in. We kind of take all this stuff for granted, right? It's just there. But have you ever really thought about how it all got to you? It's an incredible, almost invisible journey. So let's pull back the curtain on this amazing system that makes our whole world work. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the two basic ways the world can get organized. Then, we'll dive into the mystery of the impossible pencil. Seriously, you'll love this. After that, we'll uncover the secret sauce that makes it all happen, talk about where the government fits in, and finally, we'll tie it all back to the big stuff, freedom and prosperity. Okay, let's jump right in. We'll start with a really big, fundamental question. How in the world do millions, no, billions of people work together every single day to keep society from just falling apart?
I mean, really, think about it for a minute. How does your grocery store know exactly how much milk to have on the shelf? Or how does a car company get the literal millions of parts it needs to build just one car? This is a massive puzzle that every single society has got to solve.
So it really boils down to two main ways of doing things. On one hand, you've got the command principle. Think of an army. It's totally top-down. A general barks an order, and it goes all the way down the line to the soldier who carries it out. Simple. On the other hand, you have voluntary cooperation. This is totally different. It's more like a giant, sprawling web where everyone's just doing their own thing, cooperating with others because it helps them both out. It's bottom up. And of course, in the real world, no society is 100% one or the other. It's always a mix. I mean, even in the old Soviet Union, which was the poster child for a command economy, they couldn't make it work without a little voluntary exchange. Get this, workers on state-run farms have these tiny private plots of land, less than 1% of the total farmland. But those little plots produced almost a third of the country's food. That's pretty amazing.
Okay, to really see how mind-blowingly powerful this voluntary cooperation thing is, let's zoom in on a super simple, everyday object. Something you've probably used 1,000 times and never, ever thought twice about. A plain old pencil.
Imagine for a second that this pencil could talk. It would say something pretty shocking. Not a single person on the face of this earth knows how to make me. Now that sounds crazy, right? It's a pencil. How hard can it be? But it's absolutely true.
I mean, just think about what goes into it. The wood, that comes from cedar trees way up in Northern California or Oregon. The lead, which actually isn't lead at all, it's graphite, that could be mined in Sri Lanka. That little metal ring holding the eraser, that's brass, made from zinc and copper that come from who knows where. And the eraser itself, that's made with stuff from rapeseed oil, maybe from Indonesia. It's a global operation.
So here's the really wild part. You have literally thousands of people all cooperating to create this one simple pencil. We're talking loggers, miners, chemists, factory workers all over the planet. These people don't know each other. They speak different languages, have different beliefs. Heck, they might even hate each other if they ever met. And yet somehow they all work together.
But, and this is the big mystery, nobody's in charge. There's no pencil boss in a central office giving orders, telling the logger in Oregon what the miner in Sri Lanka is doing. So, how does it happen? How does this pencil even exist?
Well, the answer to our pencil puzzle takes us back to the famous economist Adam Smith. He described this incredible, almost magical mechanism that makes all this complex stuff happen without a single person directing the show.
It's called the price system. You've probably heard its more famous nickname, the invisible hand. And what it is a system that coordinates millions of us, all just doing our own thing, trying to make a living, through the simple process of buying and selling stuff voluntarily.
So how does this invisible hand actually work? Well, prices do three incredible things at once. Number one, they send signals. They're like a giant worldwide information network. Number two, they create incentives. They give people a reason to pay attention to those signals. And number three, they distribute the goods. So let's walk through a quick example.
All right, let's just imagine there's a surprise baby boom. A few years later, all those kids are heading off to school, and they all need, you guessed it, pencils. So suddenly, the demand for pencils shoots way up. Okay, so how does the logger way out in Oregon get the message that she needs to cut down more trees? Does she get an email from the school board? A memo from the pencil company? Of course not. Nope, here's the magic. The information travels through just one single thing. The price of wood goes up. That's it. The logger doesn't need to know about the baby boom. She doesn't care why people want more wood. All she needs to see is that the price went up. That's the only signal she needs.
And that higher price does two things at once, remember? It's not just the information, it's also the incentive. Because the price is higher, it's now more profitable for her to go out, maybe hire a few more people, and cut down more trees. The price system is both the messenger and the motivator.
Okay, so if the market and the price system are this powerful, this good at organizing things, it begs the question, right? What then is the government supposed to do? What's its proper role?
Well, even Adam Smith wasn't some kind of anarchist. He saw a few very specific, very important jobs for government. First, protecting the country from invasion, national defense. Second, an impartial justice system to protect all of us from each other and make sure people honor their agreements. Third, building and maintaining certain public works, things like roads or bridges, that everyone needs but that wouldn't make sense for one company to build. And a fourth point is added, protecting people who can't really be considered responsible for themselves, like kids. The bottom line here, though, is a sense of caution. We hear a lot about market failure, but there's also such a thing as government failure. And sometimes the cure can be worse than the disease. So the argument presented is that the burden of proof really ought to be on anyone who says the government should step in.
All right, let's tie this all together now. How does this whole system of voluntary cooperation, of prices and markets, connect to the things we all really want? Things like prosperity and freedom.
Well, history gives us some pretty powerful clues. Think about Great Britain in 1846. They got rid of their tariffs on grain, embraced free trade, and it kicked off an era of incredible growth. Or look at the United States in the 19th century. With relatively limited government and free immigration, it turned into an economic juggernaut. And more recently, you've got Hong Kong, a tiny, packed island that became an economic powerhouse, mostly by letting the market do its thing.
And this really gets us to the main takeaway, the so what of this whole discussion. The argument is this. A system built on voluntary exchange is not a magic bullet. It's not sufficient all by itself to guarantee freedom and prosperity. You need other stuff, like a strong rule of law. But it is a necessary condition. In other words, you can't have a prosperous and free society without it. History just doesn't show us any examples where that's happened.
So that leaves us with a big question to chew on. Since every real society is a mix of these two systems, command and cooperation, the real debate isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about finding the right balance. And the question for all of us today is, where exactly do we draw that line?